Well, good afternoon. I am Joe Waynes, president of TurtleWorks. We help companies work successfully with Microsoft 365. And today I have sort of an honored guest, Mark Ruhle from Ruhle Financial Services. And they help run the finance departments of auto dealerships. And I say it's sort of an honored guest because RFS is a customer of TurtleWorks, which we haven't had a customer on at this point. So we get to hear some of what it is that they did, they experienced, and how it is that they were able to succeed with Microsoft 365. Whereas before they got involved, things were a little rough. So welcome, Mark. Why don't you take a minute and tell us, 30 seconds or so, and just tell us a bit about RFS so we can set some context for what you went through, where you're at today, what it was like before, and the ways that you benefited from Microsoft 365.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. So, Rural Financial Services, what we do is we assist dealers in running their financial department in regards to their F&I, finance and insurance. So, we supply the dealerships with the aftermarket products they would then sell to customers buying a vehicle, like service contracts, tire and wheel, gap, paint and fab, all the works. And we also do things of pay plans and participation programs and everything of that sort. We also help facilitate claims, whether it be with service contracts or filing a gap claim, whatever it may be. We just make sure the dealership and the customer is taken care of. So, and where we started with TurtleWorks, I would call what we were in the Stone Age. Everything was in a filing cabinet or stored on so many different computers. And what that could be is like contracts for customers or information from the dealership in general. And what we needed was to be able to put everything onto one platform. So that way we could easily access any type of information that we need for the dealerships or consumers. And that's exactly what TurtleWorks, you guys had done for us, is you introduced us to Microsoft Teams, and we were then able to put everything digitally. And that was a huge step for us and for our clients and for oncoming clients as well. So it made access to everything so much more simple and easy for us, and it just centralized everything for us. So that's been our experience, just as a quick snapshot of
Mhm.
what has gone on so far.
Okay, so what we heard is there's a lot of paperwork,
Hmm.
and whether it's agreements, contracts, transmittals, whatever it is that you're doing, there's a lot of paperwork going back and forth, a lot of emails with attachments, and that whole experience beforehand, or actual physical paper, and it's stuck in a filing cabinet or whatever. And at this point, you are much more organized, which is nice. So you talked a bit about what it was like internally at RFS.
Hmm.
Um, Before we got involved with RFS, what was it like interacting with the dealerships? So I'm the process certainly changed when we introduced Teams. So
Hmm.
what did it look like beforehand?
So essentially, what it was, it was just more time consuming, I would say. The dealerships needed information, and if say our personnel was out of the office, all of it was just at the office at the time. It was communication from the dealerships as of like through phone, we getting random calls, or through email, and it would then just be having to search through emails or find text messages or anything of that sort. So what we're able to do was put everything onto the platform, the communication, so that way everything is very transparent, and then it's very clear when communication had taken place. And then also with chat channels, it made it so much easier just communicating with the personnel of the dealership as well.
Hmm.
So,
I had I hadn't considered the fact that it's you and Roy,
mhm.
and if you're out and somebody calls, you can't go to the filing cabinet and look at
No,
it. You had to tell them, "I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. I'll get," and then go
absolutely.
look for it.
Mhm.
And that's gone away then.
It has, and that's been the big thing. It's saved us a lot of time, and by saving us time, it saved our clients time, so that way they can
Hmm.
take care of their customers. So it's been they were extremely happy about that, and a lot of businesses still suffer with that right now. So it's been a huge stepping stone for us, putting everything into the digital world.
So one of the things that I talk to prospects about or clients is, uh, are your people able to find the information they need to do their job?
Hmm.
And what's happened is the answer is yes for you and Roy now. You're able to find what you need to do your job easily, as well as one of the things we did was we opened Teams up to staff at the dealership. So the way Teams was structured, the way we implemented and set up Microsoft 365, we created teams that were bound to specific dealers, and I'm going to get the terminology wrong, but uh, a dealership may have multiple business units. So they may do Toyota, they may do Buick, they may do Chevrolet, and sometimes you don't want the staff from Buick to be able to see Toyota or vice versa.
Hmm.
So we had to take all of that into consideration. But today, those folks can just get to Teams themselves. They don't even need to call you.
Right, and that was the biggest thing. What we tell our clients is we're all about transparency, and that's what Teams has been able to make happen for us, especially with the administration side. So
Mhm.
it's a matter of, and it's nice because you can set who has access to what accounts and or what information as well. So for our larger groups, when there's different stores being involved, well, there's like what you were saying, like they don't need access to the other store's information. We are able to set up those parameters, and so that way the information is safe for who it needs to be shown to. And that's been the big thing is the transparency. So it just allows the dealerships now they don't have to call us to get the information. It's all accessible to them as soon as they look at their computer screen. It's that simple, and that's what they've really loved.
Okay. So one, self-service is in play. So the staff from the dealership can go do what they need to do on their own
Mm-hmm.
without the phone calls. Now, transparency implies trust, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. So,
Mm-hmm.
tell me if the relationship changed or not, or I guess explore that transparency trust connection if it's there.
No, absolutely. See, with the automobile industry, there has to be a lot of trust, and especially with what we do, there has to be a lot of trust between the dealership and our company. And a lot of times, there can be some type of what would you call a some type of wrap around what the dealerships are, and then what our companies can do as well out there. And we just like to make sure that no matter what, they have all the information that they could possibly need that involves our two businesses, all accessible at one point. And that's what we've been able to show in our dealers as well. Like you can trust everything of what we do because it's documented right in front of you, and you have access to it without us standing there in front of you. And that was a very important thing for our clients.
Yeah. So, I guess a couple things. One is when you're not sending attachments and you're going to the document directly, you're dealing with the source of truth. So there's
Mm-hmm.
no question about, do I have the latest in this email, or
Mm-hmm.
has it been changed since I received this email? That's really a beautiful thing about putting files in the cloud and giving people access to them. And then, it's the trust thing, the relationship is certainly nice. Um, so you can get to your stuff from anywhere now. You can get
Mm-hmm.
to it. Your customers can get to it. The ability to answer questions while you're on the road has changed significantly.
Mm-hmm.
You even have the ability to upload things while you're out on the road.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, what are some of the things that you're doing from a file perspective? Can we get into I'll say the nuts and bolts a little bit of what a day in the life of Mark and Roy looks like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what we do, so just let's call it today, for example. So, we run reports for our dealerships and we send them out in the morning, and we save all of them, all those files, so that way we can access those reports whenever we need. And then also we check in on claims and everything of that nature. We check our chat channels throughout. Well, we get notifications whenever somebody's trying to connect to us through.
So let me pause and flesh that out for people who don't know Teams well. What
Mhm.
Mark's referring to is in Microsoft's Teams, we have on each team and then on each channel inside of a team, there's a separate thread for communicating back and forth. And it's called posting within a channel. It's called chatting at a high level within Teams, but the process is kind of the same. Somebody wants to send you an instant message, they do it through Teams, uh, and it shows up then in this place in Teams where not only all the previous communication has occurred, but also all the files and content that they're dealing with also reside. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that chat channel, it alerts all of us in our company. So that way, at that point that it's submitted into the chat channel, all of us are notified. So then, who if one person isn't able to get to at that time, another person can. But the thing is, all of us are on the same page about what communication is taking place and when it is. So that's been the big thing for us. So then also in regards to like going back to like the day in the life of us, when we're going through the claims that are still ongoing, we're able to see, like with Teams, we've created a checklist of where they're at with the claim. So that way, one person can step in and continue on with facilitating that claim. So if the other person can at that moment. So that way, all of us can jump into a task and know exactly where we're at that moment.
Hmm.
That's been a
There's
huge.
an aggregation that occurs there
Mm-hmm,
that doesn't occur through email. It's not
mm-hmm,
possible. We helped another business dealing with RFQs and questions about quotes and questions about products, and they were losing a massive amount of money every week on sales because they had no way to manage all this email and who was working on what and where it was left off, and so went on vacation, so now somebody else has to pick it up, but they don't know how to connect all the emails together. And
mm-hmm,
what you're describing is that all that information related to a client, related to a specific thing, is aggregated together in one spot, which is really a beautiful way to keep the flow as you're working, right?
mm-hmm.
You don't have
Absolutely.
to, it's not an abrupt interruption or a huge context switch when you're moving from one question to another, maybe even from one dealership to another,
Mm-hmm.
because the interface and the process is the same. Oh, I'm dealing with dealership B now. Click there. Here's the conversation. Just pick it up and go. So,
Absolutely, and that's a huge thing. There's a lot of time wasted when, say, one person's working on a claim for a customer, and then all of a sudden, if one of us needs to step in, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what information is there. We're not looking through their emails trying to figure out, what was the last communication that had taken place. It's all documented right in Teams, so that way we can just briefly overview what's going on. There's like for a gap claim, for example, you have to submit in insurance documents and financial documents and documents from the dealership. Well, we know what has been submitted. We have a checklist. We can see the actual documents, so we're able to make sure this thing can go as seamless as possible. And that goes, for other tasks as well, not just claims. We're just able to see where our personnel is at, so that way we can help them a lot more efficiently. That's the big thing for us.
hmm. It didn't take us that long to put this in place either. Roy got a deal, of course. So Roy and
Mm-hmm.
I have known each other for 20, 26 or more years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and, he got it, but it still was not that much time to get this thing in place. And at this point, you get a new dealership, you get a new store, business unit, personnel changes, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you're handling all that yourself. It's fairly easy for you to administer and keep going.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so I frankly haven't done anything on your particular Microsoft tenant in years. Once we set it up,
Mm-hmm.
which is fantastic for you. So there's no additional expense you're putting out. Not great for me, but no no additional expense for you.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's
Yeah.
great. It's great for our dealerships, especially when new personnel comes on, because
Hmm.
it's so easy to work.
Yeah.
That's been the big thing. And then also, like, we have a checklist of when a new personnel at a dealership starts, that they can just look at this quick snapshot of how they can navigate through our teams, and everything is laid out. It's only a couple pages long, so it's very simple to understand, and then they're able just to pick up and get going.
You know
So,
what? You just triggered something I wanted to talk about because yeah, that onboarding checklist is there in
mhm,
Teams that you can share with them, and then they just follow the bouncing ball and they get up and running. But um, from a what's in there perspective, what are you saving within Teams? I know you mentioned like forms and some other things. So can
mhm,
you sort of flesh that out? Like it's not just contracts and transmittals and reports that you have in there.
mhm,
It's work instructions, if you will,
mhm.
and what else is in there?
So if we're like on the go and we need marketing materials for what the products are, I have all of them saved in Teams. So that way I can just send them out, or the dealership can have access to them at any point. So we have marketing materials. Then if we have a new dealer group that comes aboard, we have all the sign up material already in Teams. So it's just very accessible to them, or that we can just send out. And then also like time pay sheets. I mean, quite literally everything that involves our business is on there. So it's everything that a dealership could need. The biggest thing is like marketing materials, and like with transmittals, the chat. Um, yeah, I would, and then the sign up for the dealerships as well. So
Mhm.
then procedures, everything of that nature. Like if you need customer needs to cancel their products, well, the forms in Teams, it's very accessible. So I would say those are the things that we keep in there, that it's all everything that we could that's going to be in front of the person, like in the F&I office. Well, they can have a digital form through Teams.
Okay. There's one thing I didn't touch on and sort of passed it over, but as I was just thinking about it, um, whenever you implement or you sell something to someone, maybe there's an administrative cost that's associated with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
in our case, we introduced you to Teams. Well, now you got to learn how to do Teams, and your job changes. And is the return on that investment worth it? Or is it actually so much easier to use that it's a no-brainer? We want to do this versus the harder road. So can you get into a bit of the questions that a dealership raises as you're talking about your products and services from, well, what kind of grind, what kind of burden is this going to place on my people to administer these
Mm-hmm.
new products and services? And did teams resolve that or not? Take a minute to talk about that, please.
Absolutely. So like a big concern from dealerships is in the administration office. It's how exactly is the communication for one taking place. Like their biggest concern is this going to be too confusing for my office personnel to jump on and be able to administrate? And what we've seen from our clients is that it's not a problem at all. It actually made things a lot easier. So it's and it doesn't. Teams is very it's very user friendly as well. And the thing is, with us having our step by step process for like the personnel to use it, it has simplified it so much for them, and they actually prefer using Teams now. So we actually have had clients uh, that actually use Teams themselves from their other standpoint, like on their other parts of their
So
business.
they've adopted it internally after being introduced to it by you. Sweet.
Right. So it's so yeah, they really like the Teams interface because it has made their life easier. It's made our life easier. So
Yeah.
the communication between a company like ourselves and a dealership it's been streamlined because of using Teams for us. So it is a no-brainer from my standpoint, because I mean where we were at with our communication with our organization, it has completely taken us to a whole different level. So, and that's a big concern with dealerships. So they are very very happy with us using Teams.
Good. Okay, so we got a couple takeaways, things you can try after we get done doing this discussion. But before we get to those, how can people get a hold of you, Mark?
So we have our website. It's ruralfinancialservices.com. Also, my phone number, 248-797-2738. That's my direct line. You can go ahead and give me a call, give me a text, whatever you so need. And then also with my email, it's mrule@ruralfinancial.com. We try to keep it as simple as possible.
Sweet. And to get a hold of me, folks, if you want to ask some questions about what we did, or phone calls are free with me. And literally, there's my email, there's my phone number, a website, and then the next link will actually give you direct access to my calendar if you wanted to book some time with me to talk. Feel free. So have at that. I always enjoy finding ways to help you succeed. So, and then as far as takeaways, do you have anything in mind? I know I have a couple, but I'll let you go first if you got some.
Well, in terms of if you want to get organized, I would trust teams. That's one thing. Like business owner to other business owners is that you need to be organized, especially with the today's day and age. Everything is electronic, and Teams has helped us, and I know it can help out other people. So I trust Teams. I've been growing up using Microsoft my entire life through school, and then every job that I've used as well has used Microsoft. And being able to just use Teams has really put everything in the big picture for me, and it's something that I would trust. I do trust, and would recommend to anyone else.
Cool. So I got a couple. One, build a solution that you can access from anywhere, so you can get to your stuff on the go. Um, I'm thinking about the whole experience. Like Roy called me a couple of years ago, and he's like, "Joe, I need help. I know I need help." Um, and the help was I need to consolidate and organize. And if I would have asked Roy, "Do you need to consolidate and organize?" he'd say yes, but he didn't know the steps to get there, right? And that's true for me in my business. There's certain things that I don't know, and I need an expert to walk me through. Like, take these 5 steps, Joe, and the light bulb goes on, and I can see a little better on how to deal with financial reporting or marketing or whatever it is, dealing with staff. So that was a thing. Like he needed to get unstuck. He made the phone call and he got unstuck. And sometimes you need an outside resource to do that. The other thing is eliminate email attachments as much as you can. We have the tools within SharePoint and Teams now that you can share files. And what that does is it means that whoever receives that email with the link always has the latest source of truth, always has the latest document. By doing that, it's going to cut down on your phone calls, your emails, other questions. It's going to cut down on your grind because they have access to the truth. So that's my takeaway. Like, get rid of those attachments. Just send links. So thank you for your time, Mark. Say hi to Roy. And thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.